Thank you. Good morning, our presenters and participants. Welcome to the virtual VTSO International Convention 2021. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you so much for your participation and contribution to our annual convention success. We are Yang Han and Lam Yang, the presentation's moderators. We are delighted to see all of you here in light of virtual presence today, especially in this parallel live oral presentation. We do hope that all of you will be able to have some valuable knowledge and experience as takeaways following the talk. Before the presentation, there are a few considerations. In case you have any questions or concerns about the presentations, feel free to leave them in the chat box so that we can gather the questions for easy response in the 5 to 10 minute Q&A session. We warmly welcome Mr. Nguyen and Dr. Vũ Thị Hồng Vân in this parallel live oral presentation, which is entitled How to Make Learners Engage in an Online Grammar Lessons. About our presenters, Mr. Nguyen Văn Mỹ is a researcher in language acquisition and linguistic studies. His current research interests include the language teaching methodology, curriculum development, technology in language teaching, and learner motivation. His research interests are reflected in his publications in the areas of English language teaching and technology. And Dr. Vũ Thị Hồng Vân is a lecturer at Ho Chi Minh City University of Education. She is interested in teaching ESP, teacher training, and social linguistic issues. She has been teaching English for students of international studies and English for tourism and hotel management. And now please welcome Mr. Nguyen Văn Mỹ and Dr. Vũ Thị Hồng Vân for this presentation. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you, the two moderators, for wonderful introductions our session. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank you for your participating our session this morning. To help you follow our presentation easily, allow me to show you the outline of the presentation. Sorry. Okay, first of all, I will talk to you about the background and problem stage of our study in the introductions session. And after that, in the literature review session, I will mention some theory concepts related to the creating the learning engagement in online grammar session. And the last one, finally, we would like to introduce you some practical activity for classroom practice and how to apply the activity in real-life classroom, and have some discussions related to implement of the activity in a real-life classroom. So and now don't wait for us for a long time. I started my presentation. So now today you can see that the COVID-19 pandemic has led our life to the so-called the new normal. With a lot of the challenges. So in the fact that most schools around the world have to transfer from face-to-face learning to online learning due to the negative impacts of the COVID-19. As you can see that the online learning is the effective solution to the four targets. First one is to maintain the learning and teaching process, and the second one is to stay safe for the community. However, online teaching and learning contains some problems related to the poor and learning and teaching experience and lack of learning motivation and autonomy, and even less supporters of the unstable support of the technologies. So the more challenge of online learning and teaching is it's very difficult to create an interactive online learning between the teacher and learner. And special for the terms of teaching grammar lessons. Nowadays, you can see in most of the teaching context of English and foreign language, EFL, grammar lessons are often told in the format of traditional practice is isolated from the context to a meaning, and learners are not likely to use the learner framework in their real-life communication or practice outside the classroom. And that reason is very important to find the practical activity for online grammar lesson and effective strategies in online class to facilitate learner engagement. This is also the focus of our study today. So, and now let me to have some overviews about the theory concepts related to our study. As you may know, the teaching learning process is the two ways interaction between the teacher and learner, in which learner is the center of the learning, and the teacher with the role of as an instructor who can help students step by step to achieve learning outcome. And so it's very important to make the good relationships, positive relationship or interaction between the teacher and learner and among the learner in the classroom. First of all, allow me to review some strategy for facilitating learning engagement in online grammar session. Nowadays, most of the teachers around the world apply the communicative teaching approach in the teaching English or a language in general. So in our case, I also mentioned that it's very important to apply the communicative CLT in the online classroom too. And more important, it's very important for the teacher to implement a variety of creative learning activity in an online lesson. So you can see that I have just mentioned a lot of teachers throughout the world apply the communicative teaching approach in their lesson. But in the real life context, we need to localize the approach to be more suitable for the local context. I mean that practice activities should be first controlled and after that, but meaningful and communicative. And that enables learner to understand and use the grammatical structure to produce the powerful language. You can see that in fact, students can just communicate with others when they have the certain purpose, or I mean, there is a gap information for the communication. That's the reason when design communication stats should be in the creative role play, problem solving tasks, and discussion. These tasks also makes the learner engagement in online teaching, online learning and teaching too. So beside the methodology, learning material, I would like to say that learning environment is very important. It contributes to the success of the learning and teaching online. That is because of productive classroom environment, Learnable allows students to express themselves and learn. Moreover, attitude of a learner would depend not only on the teacher, but also on the classmate, affects motivation and performance in learning of foreign language. So once again, it's very important to build a good relationship between the teacher and learner that enhance the interaction between the teacher and learner and among learner in class. Related to the theory of implements a variety of learning activity, it's very important to mention the learning style. As Rasa Richmond in 1996, you can see that there are 6 learning styles. You can look at the table on my slide. For example, you can see independence for independent learner who refer to work alone, who not interested in discussion and other learner interactions, are not interested in the teamwork. And in contact, you can see for the collaborative learner who refer to cooperative with other, who prefer working and discussion. And you can see for competitive learners who interested in game, competitive game, learning for reward and recognition, refers them to projects. So when the teacher have an in understanding of learning style, they can design effectively learning activity in class. So I have just finished the first session, and now continue with practical activity for classroom. So the first one, I would like to have some description of the teaching context. The online framework lesson template is suitable for class between 30 to 40 students at intermediate level of English. And this lesson focus on the present simple and adverb of frequencies. The main purpose or learning objectives of each lesson is to introduce learner to present simple, use present simple to talk everyday activity, and more important is facilitate student engagement in online grammar session. So, and now allow me to have some meaning to introduce you for a teacher of online framework lesson in the real life classroom. There are 4 main activities in this lesson. First of all is engage activity. Students, before the lesson, the teacher requires students to open their camera and take a photo for the checklist assignment purpose and makes student more ready to the lesson. And the second one is a warm-up activity. For this activity in online class, the teacher requires students to write everyday vocabulary as much as possible in the chat box. This can help students to pay attention in the classroom. And for special for communicative, for the competitive learner, they can pay more attention because they like this game or this activity. And that's the lesson including a variety of learning, variety of learning activity. And finally, is for outside classroom activities, the teacher requires students to make a video or record their audios about everyday activity. Yes. So for the teaching activity, we have 5 activities. For activity number 1, the teacher requires students to describe the pictures through asking and answering the question. And activity number 2, the teacher requires students to work in a pair and make the conversations about everyday activity. Before transferring from activity number 2 to activity number 3, we have a leading activity. It means the teacher designs some game based on the available website, for example, quick.com or Kahoot. In this game, the teacher integrates a grammar structure form, I mean the form of the verb in the present simple in this game. This makes the game more relevant and meaningful in learning. And for activity number 3, students work in small groups, make an interview about everyday activity. And the activity number 4, the teacher requires students to write about their everyday activity personally. Okay, so let's have some particular particular reviews about the activity number 1. First of all, the teacher showed the student the picture, as you can see on the slide. Yes, and learner trying to better recall the activity in the picture. And the teacher asked the student the question, what time does he get up every day? What time does he get up first? Student can have one learner look at the picture and answer the question. After that, learner working there and then one answer the question at the model between the teacher and the learner. In this case, online of learning, the teacher may use the video call function on the social network apps like Facebook, Yellow, WhatsApp to do exercise, to the activity, right? Okay, so for activity number 2, the teacher shows students the list of the question, the control practice. Based on the legal questions, students can work in there and make conversations. And after that, the teachers can call some pair of the students to practice their own conversation in front of class. In the online class lesson, the teacher can use the website wellofname.com. This allows the teacher can call randomly the name of student. It can make student more interesting and focus on the lesson. And for activity number 3, the teacher divide class into small groups, and each group work together and makes an interview about their everyday activity, like what time do you get up every day, what do you often eat for breakfast, what time do you eat breakfast, something like that. And after that, the teacher requires each group of the student make presentations about their interview in front of the class. And the last one, for activity number 4, the teacher requires students to look at the suggested question and write in about their everyday activity. In case that in this case, the teacher can use Google Form to assign this activity to students, because it can make more convenient when you're teaching online. And now, continue with some analysis on classroom practice. In this session, I will compare the practical activity with the theory or principle of language teaching. So you can see that for engaging activity, the teacher create interaction to have a learning readiness or pay more attention to the lesson. This is result from the principle of teaching and learning, that the teacher should make good relationships with the learner that can motivate them to learning. And for activity number 2, the learner impaired this right of teacher, and learner use social network to do this activity. For using the picture, grammar should be told in the context, the meaning context, and the learner use social network to do this activity. It means using technology can make online learning more convenient. For activity number 2, learner in their work make conversations about their activity. The teacher should facilitate opportunity for students to practice language as much as possible inside classroom. I mean that these activities allow students to use grammar structure that learns in lesson into produce the language. For leading activity, you can see the teacher use platform on website, web-based game like Quick or Kahoot. Why we need to do it? Because competitive game can make learner lesson more interesting, special for competitive learner. They can pay attention, try to get a higher grade or marks in the lesson. Besides that, you can see for this game, it's very important for the teacher to integrate grammar structure form in this game. This helps students to have a more opportunity to review the new knowledge, the language knowledge, and this makes the game more relevant and effective, meaningful in learning. For activity number 3, you can see learner work in small group and make an interviews about everyday activity. So working in group can help a student can be more their sense in the classroom, and the learner engagement can be increased. And for example, for interview can make the gap information for communications. It means students have the meaningful purpose for communicate, for use the language in learning process. And activity number 4, you can see learner writings about everyday activity, and the teachers use Google Form to implement this activity. So you can see the teacher should integrate the four language, I mean listening, speaking, reading, and writing in one lesson. This can help students to develop in the first skill when they learn language. And when the teacher use Google Form, you can see it can have the lesson more convenience, okay, more convenient, and the teacher can give a feedback, a comment on their writing easily. And for this activity, students work individually, because you can see some students, it's suitable for some students independent style learning. They would like to work in your cell and in their cell, in themselves, and they do the task without support from other, maybe, right? So that can make the requirement from the diversity of learning style in class. And the last one is outside classroom activity. You can see learning, the learner make video or recording audios about their everyday activity, I mean, our homework. Students should be provided with a lot of opportunity to practice their language outside classroom. And I think this is the kind of homework can change the traditional style of the homework. It's just writing, do exercise, and our homework can make students more interesting in learning. And after we implement this safely of online lesson in the real life context, I mean at language center of English and foreign language, we can, based on the classroom observation, we know that communicative styles in online classroom enhance learner engagement and motivation, and implementing a varieties of creative learning in the sample lesson respond to the diversity of learner style in online lesson. However, both the teacher and learner face some problem due to the poor internet connection impact of the living environment. For example, there are noise effect from their relatives, activity in the family to the learning process. And implementation of online learning teaching environments in online lesson, I mean, needs a lot of time to prepare, a lot of time to implement in the real life contact due to lack of online working experience. And to summarize my presentation today, I think the keyword for effective online grammar teaching is should make online grammar lesson more communicative, create productive learning environment, and implement varieties of learning activity in online lessons, create great opportunity for learners to practice grammar inside and outside classroom. I think is the key to effective online lesson. Okay, thank you very much for your pay attention in our presentation. And finally, would like to thank you for my beloved teacher, Dr. Vũ Hồng Vân, for her great interesting understandings and helped me to continue and process in my study. And finally, I would like to thank to the moderator of our session for their wonderful supporter in our presentation. Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to receive any comment or question from audience in this session, please.
So we would like to share our big thanks for your great presentation. And now we're happy to receive any questions that you may have for our presenters. Can you please raise your hand so that the host can unmute you and you can ask the presenters directly? Yes, Ms. Vân, go ahead.
Yeah, actually I can see in the chat box some questions. Okay, so from Cisamore, yeah, so he says that grammar is very important for people who learned the English language as a foreign language. Based on my experiences, grammar is sometimes boring for EFL learners, which make them unsuccessful in learning English grammar. So for the presenters, what should we do to help and motivate such students to learn English grammar successfully? Me, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for your question. Well, I have just mentioned that in the most EFL contest, the learners are often told in the grammars format, traditional format. It means it's planning grammar. It can make it more poor. So it's very important for the teacher to apply effectively the communicative approach in teaching grammar. I mean that if you follow carefully my presentation, you can see that
activities.
The activity we apply a lot of we can use
the task.
in the task is more communicative, like working in group, makes students working together in the small group, and they can use the grammar structure that they learn to produce the language, like making an interview, make a conversation, and special. The teacher can use the picture, video available on the internet to make the grammar lesson more interesting and effective. I hope.
And moreover, so it means that we design the tasks and the activities that ask the student to use the learned grammar into practice or into communication. Like when we study about the past simple, so then we can ask the students to use the grammar to talk about the story, or to tell about something that happened to them, or to tell about a holiday. So that means that the students can use the form of the grammar that they learned into practice. So make use of what we learned, okay? Because here we learned practical grammar. So that means we have to use what we learned into practice. That's what we do. And we try to do in this way to encourage, to make students more involved and more engaged in the lessons. So that means they become more autonomous and more interested in what they learned. That's what we do. Yes, thank you. And I also see another questions. Okay, so also from Cisamore, your presentation is very important. So would you share your lessons on how to motivate students to learn English grammar? Okay, so for each point of grammar, we have the lesson, and we also have different different types of tasks and activities for each point of grammar. Okay, so if you want to have our lessons for this one, we will share with you later, because he also put his email here. Okay, yes. So please copy his email me.
Yes,
copy his email, and then we will share with him.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, yes. Thank you so much for our presenters. And due to the limited time, we cannot discuss this session any further. So you can email the presenters directly.
Yes, thank you.
Have further discussion. And on behalf of the TESOL International Convention 2021, we would like to wish you all the best and success in your profession. Yeah. Thank you so much and goodbye. Thank you, presenter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, congrats.